tremendously. In fact, they help us with the recruitment of students. Every fall and spring, we have information sessions where they lead. We talk about information about the institution, but they talk about specifically the job opportunities and the pathways to get those jobs. First Energy stepped up. They pay for the tuition and books for the students. We have a Power System Institute program with them where half of the first half of the week they're in classrooms at Pierpont. The second half of the week they're at First Energy facility. And we have a 100% job placement rate with First Energy. The students typically graduate on a Friday, go to work on a Monday. I mean, so I guess what I'm saying to you all is I think it's important to make sure that industry are intimately involved in designing the curriculum because they know the needs, what they need, and we're adhering to that. But if you think about this, and here's the part that I really wanted to talk about. Companies hire from regional commuting patterns, not necessarily along the geo-political jurisdictions. They go across the state lines depending on there's a label shed there. And one of the things that I'm very, very proud of, and this helped us as a state start thinking more of entrepreneurially, we joined what's called the Tri-State Advanced Engineering Manufacturing Consortium. And what this consortium is, it consists of 27 counties in eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and northern West Virginia. It's composed of, and we meet on a quarterly basis to not only look at the local needs, but we're looking at the regional workforce needs. And so this consortium consists of 26 higher education institutions, 14 workforce development boards, as well as industry. We're talking about companies that we meet quarterly with: Chevron, IBM, Lincoln, just to name a few. And the whole ideal there is that we are partnering to support clear and accessible pathways for people for jobs in energy and advanced manufacturing. A quick example that I'll give you: this past summer, we teamed up with another community college and worked with Murray Energy, formed a partnership. We have similar curriculum, irregardless of which college you start at, you can get a job with Murray Energy in mine maintenance technology. And the uniqueness of this program is that the students that are enrolled in the program also have a part-time job at Murray doing their duration in the program. If you think about that, it makes a little sense. It's a win for the student because now they're getting their feet wet, understanding what the needs are and whether or not they want to go forward with that particular job opportunity. It's a win for us as a college because we're providing an avenue for students to get connected to jobs. And it's a win for Murray because now they have a pipeline of employees for the future. In fact, I was talking with Mr. Murray, who's the president of the organization. He was saying that they will have positions available for the next 15 years for That's graduates great. Of the program. I mean, those are the types of things that we have to begin to do at our institutions, providing those pathways for people.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's one of the things that, being in New York City like I am at BMCC, I'm constantly connecting to larger associations, larger organizations, and my main goal is to try to build these types of relationships, which haven't existed with our entrepreneurship degree program that's actually been around as a degree, a 2-year degree, for 15 years. So building those types of relationships and becoming proactive about it is one of the ways that we can really move forward. I got some really interesting questions that came into this system here. One of them was, what happens when there's negativity related to you trying to roll out something like this? And I'd love to hear the components of what that negativity was and how you overcame those negative sort of pushback moments or the negative things that might have been happening. So I'd love to hear that.
Well, for me, people say I'm the most optimistic person there is, so I have to share this story before I get to that, if you allow me.
Just for a minute, let's come back to that story, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Just because I want to make sure we got 15 minutes left.
Okay. But negativity is not in my vocabulary.
Right, but you still get it. So
Yeah.
what do we do with it? So that's my. Do we say yes and? I mean, is that our objective with this?
Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear, if you don't mind, Sherry, I'd love to hear you sort of dive in and see what happened in
Well,
that
I've
situation.
already shared a few examples of taking 2 classrooms offline and receiving a lot of negativity, and I think you just have to be transparent and direct and accept that, accept the loss that people identify at the time, like the loss of the classrooms, which that's sacred to faculty. So you honor, you have conversations with them, you honor, we honor that, but we're moving in this direction and we need your support. And along the way, you find faculty advocates that understand where you're going, and they kind of coach from the other side as a president, and you just use as many resources as you have to take on that negativity. You have to connect people,
Sure, sure.
to surround you, to survive, and to come out on the other side in a positive light.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve?
I'll give you a very specific example. We had a wall full of projects that we wanted to do at the college, and we went out into the community and met with businesses and entrepreneurs about what facilities we should develop, and we landed on a diesel technology center. We had just a shell of a program with a half a dozen kids completing on an annual basis. We used the data in our labor market. We had 175 openings within the 9-county area. We went out and we created one of the best programs in the state, in my opinion, and yet we do authentic work. So people bring equipment to us, and we charge them a minimal fee, a shop fee, and our students get that experience. Well, you're always going to get some pushback from those private sector folks who a week ago were telling you they needed employees, right? So it's really nurturing a relationship with them about investing in the program. And now I think 100% of our second-year students are actually working in one of those shops. But it was a transition, but you have to think down the road. And when there's a shortage, more people in the industry can do nothing but help all boats rise. And I think you just have to keep your eye on the ball and work with them in those advisory committees to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Garrett, I'd love to hear if you have any ways that you have an energizing kind of way of, is there a question? Yeah, there's a question. Oh, nice. Wait, let me get to you. This is why I wear sneakers. Yeah, I got to get out there. No, I think it's really important that, especially when you're talking about these types of issues, that you dive in.
Right. So my question is a fundamental question. So we form a team, we inspire, we energize. But the bottom line is people are as good as what they know. And I'm specifically talking about faculty, right? So what kinds of professional development or tools or exposure do you provide faculty so that they move from the point they are to the point that you want them to be?
Since I'm in a district of 10 colleges, after a few NACCE conferences, I thought, how are we going to spread entrepreneurship across this district? So this is a strategy beyond my college, is that I would connect with all the colleges, like my colleague Paul Dale from Paradise Valley. The two of us have been faithful in attending NACCE, and he brings faculty, I bring faculty, so we convene those faculty. But I took it upon myself to create an event where faculty from across the district, I'd invite the business faculties first off to an event once a semester. And it was the legacy event. And it wasn't about creating a legacy, it was about the legacy golf course. And I actually bought the appetizers, and we would create an open agenda, and we'd invite the faculty from across the district to the legacy golf course in the evening in November and in April, and I would pay for it. And they would have conversations about what they were currently doing in the space of business development and entrepreneurship. Now it's expanded to include interdisciplinary conversations. So we have faculty from across disciplines that are invited to this legacy event, which I'm now hosting in my home in November. But that's a way to break down, to help faculty move forward with entrepreneurship and influence each other. So instead of us coming from on top, you know, bringing professional development in, it's faculty having conversations across the district to move the agenda, to also move the interdisciplinary entrepreneurship concept that you asked the question about, Bree, to do it through the grassroots of the faculty versus trying to move something through the president's point of view. So that's been a successful venture that I've supported, and it's just been, we're looking forward to our next legacy event.
Great, Chair. I appreciate that example. Yeah.
I'd love to address this one. So first of all, I think NACCE. Bring them here, right? I mean, if you can see what's going on at some of these other institutions, it's a great opportunity for people. So come, bring them here. They can't be what they can't see. And I truly believe that. I believe that for our students. I believe that for our faculty. I believe that for people who want to grow in their careers to advance, you know, academic positions. They can't be what they can't see. And so often, especially we're in a rural area, our people come to work at one institution. They work at one institution their whole career, and they don't know how it's done anywhere else except right here. And how it was done here 25 years ago is how it ought to continue to be done. That's never going to work. So if you can't hire and have people change over and, you know, have a regular sort of influx of new blood, then I think you have to create an infusion in your existing people on a regular basis. So one of the things that I've done, and I've done this at 3 institutions now, and it's been probably the one thing that people have come back and actually thanked me for doing, and that was peer review trips. So we find an institution that's doing something really well that we want to do or that we think we need to move the needle on, and I take a team and we go visit them. I call the president. Thank goodness I know, you know, a lot of you all. I can call people and say, hey, you do this really well. Could we come and spend a day with your team? And we want you to get something out of it too, so we can share ideas and best practices, but we want to learn what you do and how you do it. And I have never had anybody turn me down. So I think that's a really powerful tool. And really, it's no more expensive than if we go to any kind of conference. And most of the time, our host schools are just delighted to be a part of that. The other thing that I wanted to mention about this is I believe that you form an organizational structure to get the results that you want to get. And so at Hawking, for example, we had deans, but we didn't have anybody really that managed the programs. And so we put in place a program manager for every single program on our campus. And we did it, we have a union. These are non-union positions because they actually supervise the faculty in those programs. So we have had to do it with attrition and as new programs come on, and in some cases where we had separately accredited programs. But by doing that, those program managers are really taking a lead, and that lead has been really important in creating the change. And most of those program managers are new people to the organization. We've had significant turnover in the last 4 years, partially because people could retire, and when we made it clear that you no longer work 26 hours in a full-time job at our institution, you actually worked 40. Some folks thought it was better to go to work someplace else, like their own businesses that they were running. And then adjunct for us, which was a great win for everybody. So we had a lot of that type of change that happened, but this NACCE conference, these peer review trips, and then building an organizational structure to really get you the results you want were keys for us.
Yeah, excellent. I like the breakdown of that too, because I love that. Hopefully, my president is going to see this video, so she's hopefully very excited about this prospect too. Focus on business and job creation, and number 5 is share stories through events. We've talked a little bit about some of those events that you've structured and created in different situations and ways that you pulled it out, but I'd love to hear, we also talked about job creation in relationship to connection to industry. Is there a specific job creation combination of things that you've put together, aside from creating, well, not aside as in not important, but just as another piece other than just creating a degree that links into a specific industry? Are there other situations where you've seen job creation directly link to what you do at your colleges? And is there a way that you've been able to track that? Because you talk about actually making job creation. What does that look like? Anyone have anything off the top of their head? That question? Yeah, I know it's a tough question because it's about metrics, right? So let's talk about metrics for a second, and let's talk about what do you use for metrics of success in relationship to the pledge. How about that? Go ahead.
Well, I'll just take a shot at it. We've infused entrepreneurship in every one of our career technical programs. They actually have taken an Intro to Entrepreneur course. We firmly believe that folks that go into very physical industries at some point in time are going to want to transition out of those physical activities and move into more of a managing or owning a business. So that's something we really worked hard at. And again, we've really worked hard to try to make those direct links with our industry partners so that they're not only getting that work experience while they're there, but it's a direct pathway into the work site. And like all of you, 97% of our career technical grads graduate and are employed in their field of study. And so that's a metric that we look at and we take really seriously.
Garrett, go ahead, and I'd love to hear from you. And just by the way, as an add-on, is anyone looking at sort of entrepreneurial self-efficacy, empathy, or any of the research components of what entrepreneurship education is about and incorporating any of that into what you call as metrics and your relative impact other than job creation?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, the big thing when you think about measuring something that people have difficulty defining, you have to identify vehicles that are within your asset scope, and every community college across the country has an asset scope of opportunities. And when we identify those opportunities and then pull the trigger on those areas, and I'll give you a specific example, Skills USA is a big deal at Catawba Valley Community College. We have the 5-time national champions in entrepreneurship. To me, that says we're doing something right in this field. Now, are we hitting the home runs? Not until I see entrepreneurship built into every curriculum course that we have. At some level with a metric, with a learning outcome developed into it. When I can get to there, I will say that we have achieved what we're going to achieve. But the excitement that is built around our national championships, we bring those and we celebrate them just like if we'd have won the national championship in baseball or football. We have banners, we have big gatherings, we talk about this throughout our community. And it's really changed the perspective of the way people in our community think about our college from a value-added standpoint. And so the metrics piece of it, going back to that, you have to develop that. You have to develop the core of how are we going to determine, are we really being successful to the extent that we expect our communities to be successful going forward. And it's all based upon student outcomes.
That's really good. And it kind of harkens back to the fifth step where you create those types of events, right? Where you really build in those types of opportunities where press and media can connect into what you're doing and you can amplify your stories. As we sort of begin to wrap up this particular section and this panel, I'd love for you to talk about where you are right now and where you want to be in the coming, month or two or by next year, and talk about some of those places that you see yourself launching off into and what that might look like relative to the pledge. And you can start right here if you'd like, Betty.
We still have a few programs that don't have institutes built into their curriculum, so we're looking to continue to expand and go down the path we're on. I think this new model with our business program being performance consultants to our entrepreneurial ventures will continue to grow. We're on the front edge of several things. I mean, we're well into part of our program in entrepreneurship, but we're also on the front end of a lot of it. So I think our key now is to stay with it and not give up. There will be things that work, there will be things that don't work, and when they don't work, we should celebrate them as well because we learn from them and not be afraid of that. Because if we're not pushing ourselves throughout this process of new things, enough that we can fail once in a while, then we're really not taking the kind of risk that's going to get us to really move the needle.
I would say, and you've heard a lot about this at this conference, but one of the challenges we all face is funding and really using entrepreneurship as a way to create businesses that fund the good work that we do and allow us to touch more students. And so that's where I think we'll go, is to try to identify those gaps in our community and really start to really run our own businesses, give those students that opportunity, and then use their incubator skills to get them out and actually run those businesses and compete in the market. So I think that's a real opportunity for us to solve an internal problem and also really take entrepreneurial and startup activities into the marketplace and meet the needs in the region.
My goal for the future is to influence not only at my college but across the district that we actualize an interdisciplinary studies program at Maricopa Community Colleges. We currently have it as a proposal. We have ASU as a partner that has 160 plus interdisciplinary studies programs, but yet we do not have as a community college interdisciplinary studies at the associate degree level. And I believe entrepreneurs need interdisciplinary studies to launch from. It's very important that they're able to look at multiple disciplines as they create their educational platform. So that's one of my goals, and then to have a venture pitch competition that's not only at one or two of our colleges, but is district-wide. And this spring in March, 6 of our 10 colleges had students participate in a venture pitch. So my goal is that all 10 colleges actually do have this opportunity for students, because it is about opportunity for all students, not just some students at some of our colleges. So those are my 2 goals for the future.
And as I mentioned earlier, we're at step 1. We're forming our teams to get into this entrepreneurial mindset. And it's our hope that entrepreneurial mindset becomes just a part of the community college experience to help students, as they move forward, see different opportunities available to them.
We've got a couple of goals. The first is we're in the process of developing a network called Supportedly that will connect all entrepreneurial resources across the state of North Carolina. It's something that we've been striving for, and through a grant through NC IDEA, we're on the verge of launching that platform across the state to demonstrate how we can coordinate resources to support entrepreneurship. But my ultimate goal is to be questioned by the Department of Education and my accrediting bodies about the control chaos that we're creating at our college and how we are not doing things the way it's always been done, and we're creating things that solve problems in our community. And I think when we get there, I will have reached that ultimate vision of what entrepreneurship looks like in a community college.
That's amazing. We have 2 minutes for any more questions that you might have that are pressing in your mind. And then I have some really great questions from my students who read all of your bios and were like doing research on you on Google. And so they have all kinds of questions about like what it's like to be a college president and bring entrepreneurship to a college. So I'll get to those if I don't have any others out here. Anyone have a question? Okay, so students are great, right? They always hear pledge and they're like, so is the pledge like a pledge of allegiance? And how do you get your students, this is seriously one of my questions for one of my students, how do you get adults and people who are professionals to pledge to do something different, right? To do something that they don't understand. And that's so hard for them. So that was one of the questions.
I think it goes back to professional development. And I'll give you an example. We're a Verizon STEM pilot school for the girls program. And one of our instructors stepped up to lead that. And if you're familiar with the Kern Foundation, they have an entrepreneurial program for engineering students, and they hold a conference every year. It's a real high-level conference. And it's called the Keen Conference, for those of you who haven't heard of it. And we sent her to that conference. We were working on a relationship with them, and it really transformed her. And she said she spent the entire summer retooling every one of her classes to take advantage of that entrepreneurial mindset that she believes is needed. So I think, again, we've said it several times in a lot of different ways, but you can't do what you can't see. So we have to get models in front of our folks so that they can see that within their discipline, because I've been amazed throughout my career as a K-12 educator and even a college administrator. It's difficult for people to take a biology example and apply it to English. So you have to give them models that are with their expert peers and let them move forward.
I love that. I love that. The other question that I thought was great was, okay, so these guys are presidents and gals are presidents of colleges, and I really want to know if they had to take a class and they were going to take a class that was going to be something that they just didn't know at all, what class would it be, and how do you think it would relate to entrepreneurship? And so you have to take a class on the campus. So in other words, you're president sitting in a classroom with all the other students. What class would you take? So to go back to school on your campus.
I'd probably take our get in our tool and die program. There's just lots of neat technology there, and you'd really get in front of all these STEM programs. You know, we just bought a new water laser cutter, and that's probably where I'd go.
I'd take web and app design. That's the area where I feel like I went to the blog session here at NACCE. That's an area where I think no matter what business or industry you're going to be in, if you're an entrepreneur, you better be a promoter first and foremost, and you better know how to do all that.
Right.
I would be in class with Steve, tool and die. I love to design things and think of new ideas.
Ditto. I would do the same thing.
Everybody's
I like
going
working
into
with my hands.
Yeah, everybody's going into shop class, right? Yeah.
I think I'd take self-actualization 101 because you can never learn enough about yourself to get you through some really hard times. And
Yeah.
So I like that one pretty good.
That's great. Garrett, Johnny, Sherry, Steve, and Betty, thank you so much. I didn't realize there were so many eyes on the end of all of our guests coming up to speak with us today. Thank you so much. Round of applause for them. Thanks, guys.
Just a quick announcement. All right, thank you. That was fabulous, you guys. So we are going to take a very short break and queue up the next panel. So please, if you can stay, please do stay, and we'll begin here in 15 minutes. Thank you.